You want to sand the parts as they're available to you and not after the cabinet is fully assembled. If I were to try to do my sanding after it's assembled, I won't have access to every edge to make sure that everything is smooth. I start with a random orbit sander and a coarse grit, and this is about 120. And then I move to a orbital sander, and I start with 180 grit. I then sand with 240 and then with 320. Once you get into the finer grits, you don't have to pay a whole lot of attention. It just really makes it a lot smoother. I want to glue up this glass door. So I'll spread glue on the bridle joints, but I'll spread it on every part of the joint. So a foam brush helps. The brush is good for applying the glue because it keeps me from applying too much. A regular glue bottle, there's a tendency to squirt and more comes out than you intend. I'll also put just a little bit of glue in here in the slot, so that as the bridle joint tenon is pushed into place, it'll distribute just a little bit of glue on the inside, so rather than starve the surface wiping it off, it'll continue to distribute. And it doesn't matter that I get a little glue on the outside there because it's going to be cleaned up and sanded after the glue is dried. So now I can work on the next corner and do exactly the same thing. To clamp this, all I have to do is push all the joints tight together, and then I'll use C-clamps and cawls. Make sure things get pushed tight. And push this tight. Okay, so now I can take these little pads and begin putting them tightly to the corners. And what these do is they compress the outside of the bridle joint onto the tenon on the inside. They don't have to be too tight, they just need to pull parts together. Now the other thing I have to do is check to make sure that everything is square. I glued it up on these two blocks to make certain that the door is flat. '27 5/16. 27 5/16. Good enough. Gluing up a panel door is exactly like gluing up a glass door. You want to first of all make sure that you have all your right parts in order so you don't get anything confused. It's very easy when you have glue in hand to put a piece in the wrong spot. That's the way it goes. So I'm spreading glue on the tenons. Just to make things a little quicker, I'm going to do all of my glue spreading at the same time. I'm going to take my foam brush, I'm just going to squeeze it in there a little bit just to spread some glue inside. You notice that none of these parts have been sanded on the outside yet. I sanded the insides, but I don't want to sand the outsides until everything is assembled. So I'll take this part and slide it in. The panel has to come next. And then I'll slide in this piece and I'm going to use a clamp to pull everything tight. Make sure all the joints are seated. Now I have a little glue right there that I'll have to clean up with a chisel. I want to see that it's seated there, and it's not. and it's not seated there, I can take a bar clamp and use it to pull things tight. Now that looks good, except I still have to pull tight here. So I'm going to measure corner to corner, 22 and 5/16, 22 and 5/16. So now I'm going to take blocks of wood and my C-clamps, squeeze the bridle joints closed. Check to make sure that everything is laying nice and flat. There's no wiggle in it. Now I can do the next one. So my doors with the panels in them have been glued up for over an hour, and I can take them out of the clamps. At this point, I could trim down these tenons and make them so they'll come together. But before I do that, I really want to have a final size on the cabinet itself. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the assembly of the small cabinet.